Hello and welcome to PlayStation Racer. My name is Mitchell Morgan and today we are back with a video that I am releasing out of sequence because one of my subscribers has requested that we head over to Autopolis to do the Super Formula race, but I'm just double checking that I am on the hard setting for this particular race, the setting that we are using for all of these World Circuit races now. The car that we're using is obviously the Super Formula. It's the only car that you can use, and I'm going to be putting on the medium tyres because I want to go to the end of this race without stopping. Otherwise, we are going to max out this car as much as we can because we're going to need every little bit of performance to bring this home in first place. Now, this race does have everything. It's got weather, it's got strategy, and it's got one of the closest finishes for a 20-odd minute race that you're ever likely to see. So stick around to the end for that. So we start off in the dry on the racing medium tyres, around about the 50-metre board, but slowing it down into third gear and then using the downforce just to throw this car around this track. For this corner, I'm looking for that little grey patch just to the left hand side and then down into third gear and then third all the way through here. And at the moment we're just trying to get past these cars, so basically second gear for that, what I refer to as the hairpin, using first just to get it slowed down ever so slightly, and then fourth gear all the way through here. Occasionally as I go through the race you're going to see me jumping up into fifth, and then we're watching for the middle of the arrows, a little bit unsighted because of the car that we're overtaking there, and then down to second gear over the rise, down the hill, and we're looking for the 50-metre board on the left hand side, and then fourth gear and just throw it through this corner with the bump. That is going to enable you to get on the back of cars in front. Don't go too deep through here, just leave it in fourth gear. As you get to the end of that little curb area there, down into third gear, third all the way through here. Underneath the bridge, sometimes I'll take it up to fourth, sometimes I'll leave it in third depending on traffic and depending how the car is running. And then third gear, and don't run too wide on this corner. You want to try and hug that curb to give yourself as much speed off of this corner for the long straight. Hitting the overtake button all the way up here to try and get as much power as you can. Now you are going to need to adjust your braking point at the end of there, especially if you are on the overtake button. I usually brake just after the 100-metre board, somewhere between the 100 and about 70-75 metres. A little bit of banging of wheels because you've got to get through this traffic as quickly as you can. Now you already see on the weather radar that we've got weather moving in from the west, so we've got that to keep into consideration. You can also see in the sky that the clouds are getting darker and darker and darker. Just leading into this, what I refer to as the rise there. It's not quite a hairpin, but there's a little bit of a rise. That's a great overtaking opportunity where you can put the car up the inside and get that done. So fourth gear mainly through here. You can see I'm staying to the right a lot better. This is the curb at the end of that one. Bury the brake pedal down into third gear, get it rotated around. And then this becomes almost like a compound corner where you've got two corners in one. And then as you go under the bridge, you can pretty much run flat through there, building up the speed, trusting on the downforce of this car. And again, as soon as you get onto the straight, hit that overtake button. We are going to run out of overtake in this particular race. I was using it a little bit too much initially whilst I was just trying to catch up and get through this traffic. That did cause me a little bit of a headache towards the end of the race, especially with this strategy and people on much faster tyres than me, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's keep that for the end of the race. For now, we're just trying to catch up with the cars in front, so just taking stock of where we are. We're in 15th place at the moment. We're on the racing medium tyres. I don't quite know what tyres other cars are running at this stage. I think they were running a mixture of hard, medium and soft tyres, if I'm honest. We'll have a look as people start to pit. But we're in 15th place, just done 14th place using that little overtake trick I was talking to you about a moment ago. Deep into the traffic, 0.3, 0.4 to the car behind and 1.5 seconds to the car in front. So we are making some progress, but more importantly, look at the figure in the red box. That's the one that you want to keep an eye on. 14 seconds to the leader. Now we might end up having to pit depending on these racing medium tyres. We're on lap 3 at the moment, and we've got some wear on the tyres. Whether they're going to go all the way to the end of the race, I'm not quite sure at this stage. So we want to try and make sure that we stay around about 10 seconds to the leaders, if at all possible. So a little bit off of that at the moment. Watching the weather coming in, it looks like it's going to start to get quite heavy, the rain. It's okay when you get this teal colour, but as soon as you start getting into the royal blue, then the weather can get quite tricky, especially if we are on slick tyres. So this is going to get quite interesting. That's another little one of my overtaking places, just into the hairpin, getting it slowed down using first gear if necessary, and getting the inside line and just nudging the guys wide. I went a little bit wide there onto the grass as I'm pushing, looking for the middle of the arrows, then looking for the apex here. Basically, you should be braking all the way to that apex, get it over the top and then down the hill. I'm using a little bit of overtake down here just because I can be pretty quick through this corner, so the more speed I can carry down there, the better. Fourth gear through here, just watching the radar, chasing down 12th place at the moment. Got a little bit wide there, but not too bad. Just carry the speed through here as much as you can. Up into 4th, but then you want to turn down into 3rd as you get to that curb on the right hand side, or part of the way along it, just so that you don't go too wide. If you're enjoying this video, please hit the like button, and if you're new around here, please subscribe. I really would love to have a few more subscribers on the channel, a few more people following. So if you could support me through a sub, that would be absolutely fantastic, and I would be very, very grateful. And of course, if you are a subscriber, thank you ever so much for continuing to support me. But back to the race. 3rd gear through here, we're chasing down 12th place at the moment, making a little bit of a meal on this one, still 1.1 second away, so struggling to catch this car at the moment. Maybe they're on quicker tyres, maybe just with the wet weather that's coming in, the car is sliding around a little bit more than I would like. Now, talking about sliding, there's the overtake, down 2nd gear, brake into the apex and over the top. That's how to do that one. Really nice overtaking pace, so up into 12th. Yeah, with regards to the tyres, because we want to go as far as we can with these racing medium tyres, you don't want to be leaning on them and throwing this car around too much and taking too much life out of the tyres. You really need to try and look after them as much as you can. So being gentle through the corners whilst also trying to carry the speed through. Be careful with the acceleration, getting the power down, whilst also trying to get through the race as fast as you can. So we've got some pit stops coming up. So 1st place was on mediums, the same as us. 2nd and 3rd were both on hard tyres, and then a real old mixture of medium and hard tyres. So that's looking pretty good considering how many people were on mediums. A lot of them, as you'll see there, are changing to intermediate tyres. I've opted to carry on because if you look at the weather map, there's just a very small amount of black in the bottom left hand corner, so not an awful lot more bad weather to go through. So if we can keep this going in a straight line at a reasonable pace, then we should be sitting pretty to have at least saved ourselves 1 pit stop. That has now put us into 1st position, but you'll notice that we are only 4 seconds ahead. So the cars that were in front of us had good pit stops, and obviously they were quite a fair way ahead of us, so they did manage to get in and out of the pits without losing too much time to us. The racing mediums at the moment are looking okay, so we're not quite halfway through the race yet, but we are around about a quarter worn on the tyres, very, very roughly. Obviously, I am narrating this one after the race. It really took an awful lot of concentration. Whoa, and we've got that wrong. That's our first really big mistake. I'm not quite sure what I did there. I think that was just a little bit too much power on the damp circuit, and just trying to build the gap to the second place car behind. Just trying to push on. You can see the cars behind big and large in the mirror as we get onto the main straight, and I was expecting them to come blasting past. But using the overtake button and just about everything I can think of, we did manage to go into the first corner ahead of them. A big old train of cars behind. So one little mistake now, braking a little bit early or a little bit too late, and I'm going to be losing lots and lots and lots of places. It looks like there's a little bit of a battle going on behind, but at this stage I'm really not worrying about the cars behind. I am racing my lines, doing my speeds, and if they want to come by me, they're going to have to find a way around me. So all I want to do at this stage is just drive my usual lines. So braking at the middle of the arrows, braking all the way to the apex, over the top there, just using a little bit of the curb. That closes that corner off, makes it very difficult for the cars behind it to overtake. Quick look in the mirror, you can see that battle is still going on, but the orange car is still right there. Managed to build a little bit of a gap there, but only out to 0.4 of a second. Third through here, so I'm not going to keep going through all of my gears and turning points. You can pause, rewind the video, but the gears and the turning points pretty much stayed the same all the way through here, except for when I was on the damp part of the race, where I was slowing down a little bit earlier and just being a little bit more cautious. As the track is beginning to dry out, it's still a bit damp, but as it's beginning to dry out, I managed to put a bit more speed on, and we've got all of the cars have now come in to ditch those intermediate tyres. So now is the time to be on the slicks, and our racing medium's looking reasonably good condition. So this is a real opportunity for us to push ahead. So we've got hards, mediums, mostly, well, a bit of a mixture of hards and medium tyres going on there. It surprises me with the hard tyres. I would have thought that they would have gone mediums, but that has put me 16 seconds ahead of the cars behind, at just over half distance. Now, dilemma time. 16 seconds is not enough for me to pit. Everybody has now pitted for the intermediates, and then they've gone in and pitted for slicks. So they are all on brand new slick tyres, a mixture of racing mediums and racing hards. Thankfully nobody went for softs, which would have been really, really quick. So now I've got to pump in some really, really quick laps whilst also looking after those tyres to try and maintain that gap, which inevitably is going to come down. But what I need to do is not lose more than a couple of seconds a lap. Ideally, I only want to be giving away 1 second per lap to the cars behind. So we've got 7 laps to do. The cars behind are, well, let's say 14 seconds behind. So that is exactly 2 seconds a lap that we can give away, although we don't really want to do that. So we were about 14 seconds when we crossed the start-finish line. So we're just going to continue around here. I'm just gone a little bit deep there. So first gear, just to get a little bit of rotation, just pushing on a little bit too much right now, trying to maintain that gap. We're about 13.5 at the moment, so not doing too badly with regards to the time. Just pushing on as much as possible. You can see there, braking all the way to that apex. If you can brake all the way to the apex and then just a little dab of extra brake as you get to the apex, you can use that to rotate the car around really, really nicely. So you see here, I'm just dabbing up to 5th gear and then down into 4th ever so slightly through there, just as we're hitting the rev limiter, but make sure you do get down into 4th and then 3rd through here. Took a load of the curb there, really taking a lot of risk right now so that we don't lose too much time to the cars behind. As we come around the last corner and we head towards the line, how much time have we given away to the cars behind? It looks like we have given away about 1.5 seconds to the cars behind. We're 12.7 at the moment to the cars behind. So ideally we need to keep that up around about the 11.5, 12 second mark. We've actually pushed that out to 13 seconds now, which is really good. The track is definitely drying. It's not sliding around quite so much. The tyres are around about 0.25% worn at the moment. They're wearing nice and evenly, which is good. The weather radar is completely clear. You'll notice that we've been using the overtake an awful lot to try and maintain the gap, and we've got very little of the overtake button left. As I said at the beginning of the video, I was a little bit heavy on the overtake button throughout this race, and really I should maybe not have used it quite as much as I did. At this point, looking pretty good. We've got that out to, well, it's still above 12 seconds. We lost a little bit through that corner. But 12 seconds is not too bad, so it's looking like we're going to have lost about half a second, or it's actually coming up to 12.5, 12.4. So it looks as if we're probably going to finish this lap having lost about half a second, something like that. So if we can continue at that rate, then that would be absolutely brilliant. And looking at the lap times, lap number 2 is a 1:29, followed by a 1:28, 1:29. You got 1:34 and a 1:48 as we were going through the wet weather, 1:39 as it started to dry. We're now down to a 1:33 and then a couple of 1:31s. So ideally, if we can get the lap time down to below 1:30, theoretically we should be pretty good. But I wasn't thinking about the actual lap time too much at this stage. It was more just a case of watching the delta to the car behind and just trying to maintain that distance. So at the moment we've dropped to a little over 11 seconds. So for the cars behind, their tyres have definitely managed to heat up now. They're getting their performance and they're starting to run pretty well. 10.5 seconds at this point as we go through this little technical complex. And at the end of this lap, we're going to be 4 to run. So ideally we want to be over 8 seconds ahead of the car behind. That's to maintain our 2 seconds a lap. But I think that the cars behind are actually running a lot quicker now. They are certainly seem to be catching. We put another 1:31 in. So that's 3 laps of 1:31 that have been put in. 1:31.3, 1:31.8, 1:31.7. So consistency is there, but we really do need to be pushing on a little bit more. However, the more that we're starting to push now, you'll notice that the more these tyres are starting to wear, and we've got into that little phase of the tyres where they are sliding around more than I would like. I'm pushing on a little bit harder than I would like at this precise moment in time, and that is taking more life out of the tyres. So you get into this catch-22. Do you push and do you slide to keep the delta to the cars behind and take more life out of the tyres? Do you leave the cars behind to try and catch you a little bit more and you look after the tyres? It really is a bit of a balancing act, and you can see as I'm pushing on here, I'm actually missing a few of these apexes and sliding around a little bit too much and taking too much out of the tyres. And I'll tell you why. Because I remember as we got through lap 12 going into lap 13, my heart was going like you wouldn't believe. My hands were sweating. I've actually got my gloves on for this race because my hands were gripping and sweating so much that they were hurting on the wheel. And the adrenaline is really pumping at this stage. It's like, can I really bring this home? We've had some real Some really tough overtakes. I was going to say a name there, and I really don't want to do that. Some overtakes that were a bit Formula One-y by some people, where they've chucked it up the inside, wheel on wheel. You'll know who I'm talking about. Some very rewarding and enjoyable overtakes, even though they were a little bit wheel on wheel banging. But that was very important, that needed to be done to be able to get enough of a distance, gone a bit deep on that one, to get enough distance between myself and the second place at the end of those pit stops, just so that we've got a little bit of a cushion to bring these old racing medium tyres home when the cars behind are very clearly on much newer tyres than we are. Probably a mixture of hards and mediums, but it is those racing medium tyres that I am worried about, because they are an awful lot younger than the tyres on my car, that are now starting to look pretty badly worn. Took a lot of the curb on the way through there because we are pushing on. We've got 2 laps to go and we are down to 4 seconds. Now I remind you that I said that I was working on a 2-second a lap loss. We are now well into that margin, unfortunately. With 2 laps to go, I can lose 2 seconds per lap. The cars behind are getting faster and I am getting slower. Although the track has really dried out now, that has played into the hands of the cars behind, but I am now using far too much of my tyres. At this stage, I've actually stopped with the tyre management. This is now all in. You'll notice that we are braking as late as we can. We are turning in as aggressively as we can. We're just trying to keep ahead and just make sure that that time delta to the car behind does not drop below 2 seconds. You can see how bright the track has suddenly become, how dry it is. This is really not going my way at the moment. Pushing as hard as we can now. You can see the car moving and sliding around, pushing through these corners. This is the last corner as we come around to start a new lap. What is the delta going to be as we cross the line? It is down to basically 1 second. So we've lost 3 seconds in that lap alone, and we're only allowing ourselves to lose 2. So we have lost an awful lot of time, and now we can see the cars in the mirror behind us. This has got to be a monster lap. You'll see that we did a 1:33 for the last lap. That was where the time was lost. It was me missing my apexes and going a little bit too wide. At this point, we really settled down. The adrenaline is continuing to pump, but now it's full on concentration. I was not concentrating enough during lap 14. Now I'm barely looking in the mirror. I'm watching for every apex, every turning point, every braking point. Beautiful over the top there, using a little bit of the curb. That's probably the best that I've ever done that particular corner in this car, just when I needed it. Beautiful through there, really threw it in. You can see the wear on the tyres now. We've practically lost all wear on the left-hand side tyres as we're leaning on them through these corners. 0.4 of a second to the car behind as we go underneath the bridge. This has got to be really quick. We need every bit of speed that we can get through here. Third gear, hug the curb. He's going to have to go round if he's going to overtake us. We need to cover off the inside and then a run to the line, and this is going to be a drag. How much power has he got? How much power have I got? Yes, we did it! First place by the skin of our teeth. That orange car is right there. On the replay, he actually joins us. Well, not the replay, but the rundown. He actually takes over us through that corner. That is how close he was. Oh my gosh, 0.216 of a second. That's a 20 odd minute race, and 0.2 of a second between ourselves and the second place. How close How close was that? Wow, that was a real fun race. Strategy was spot on. We did right to try and drive through the weather. We managed to keep it on the track. We managed to keep it going in a straight line. After the pit stops, it was all about that time delta to the car behind, setting ourselves a target of just 2 seconds loss per lap. In the 14th lap, the car behind took a massive 3 seconds out of us. How on earth we managed to keep them behind us during the last lap, I don't know. I think it was more that we were holding our line and the car behind just couldn't find a way past. They caught up with us but just couldn't overtake. Wow, what a race, what a race. I really hope that you enjoyed that one, guys. Please give it a thumbs up if you did. And if you're new around here, please subscribe to support the channel for more videos like this coming soon. And also I'm going to be live streaming the dailies coming up in a couple of weeks' time as well. So it would be great to have you along for those videos, and it would be fantastic if you could support my channel with a sub. And for those of you that are continuing to follow me, thank you so much for all of the kind words, the kind comments, the encouragement. It's really appreciated, and thanks ever so much for continuing to support my channel. For now, we'll be back with more races from Europe that I've got scheduled over the next week or two, and I'm going to be working on more of the Asia races to take us up to beginning of August, mid-August I think, and then I'll be getting into the live streaming of the dailies at the beginning of August. So there we go. Thanks ever so much for watching. I will see you again very soon. For now, take care. Bye bye.